seat. First off, thank you all for coming out tonight. I know it's a little rainy out, so thank you for braving the weather to be here. We really appreciate that. My name is Pat Snively. I'm the president of the Marion County Chamber of Commerce. And tonight we have our Marion County Board of Education Meet the Candidates Forum. This forum is brought to you by the Chamber of Commerce, the Women's Club of Fairmont, and the Greater Fairmont Council of Churches. Before we go any further, I want to thank the fine folks of Fleming Memorial for helping us set this up and being here extra early today to help get things in order and prepare for this evening. So thank you all, and thank you, Mary Jo Thomas, for being the Board of Education's biggest cheerleader and helping set this up and get everybody out tonight on this rainy evening. The Chamber of Commerce has a few responsibilities, and I've walked into this role following Tina Shaw, knowing that we have to tackle a lot of responsibilities with the Chamber. And not only is our responsibility to help build the business climate and economic climate in the county, but quality of life is important. And there are several areas that touches, but those who we elect can immediately impact the quality of life here locally. So it's important for us to take a vested interest in that, and one way that we can help support and bring these things to you all is to bring forums together and allow you the opportunity to meet your candidates face to face, ask questions, and get to know them on a personal level. And that's exactly what we're doing this evening. So, tonight's flow of this event, as it pours the rain down, as I say flow. Sorry about that. My fault. We will introduce our candidates, introduce our moderator. Our candidates will provide a brief personal introduction. There will be a question and answer session with our moderator. And again, our candidates will provide brief responses, and they've been prompted on that as well. And then, with time permitting, and we estimate maybe 10 to 15 minutes or so, questions from you all. Before we do that, I'm going to introduce our Superintendent of Schools, Donna Heston, and she'd like to talk to you a little bit about something else that's going to be on the ballot.
Good evening. I'm very honored to speak before you this evening. First and foremost, as you know, we have a challenge and we have an opportunity in Marion County. What we have before our voters in May is a $19.9 million bond. And that seems like a lot, but it is an opportunity for us to potentially bring $40 million to Marion County. We are proposing 6 projects throughout our 3 feeder areas, and it's been a process that started with a bond committee with representatives from each of our communities, business leaders, long-term supporters of Marion County schools, as well as parents, families, those impacted. And our Board of Education took their proposal and they looked at ways to equally distribute funds throughout Marion County. Now it's a 5-year bond, and very thoughtfully they chose 5 years. But it is the first bite out of a long-term 15-year plan that will address multiple facilities that have needs in Marion County. So what you see before you are 6 projects, and this is just a start. And when we say equal distribution, what we chose to do is an elementary project, as well as an athletic project in each one of our feeder areas. And while we know that this does not touch all that needs addressed in Marion County, it is a bite, it is a start. And it is something that we are asking our voters to support and invest in our students. And so as you look at these projects, what we propose to do is to add a 3-classroom addition to Watson Elementary School and to put walls and doors in Watson Elementary School. That has been needed for years. It does impact learning. So that is one of the projects proposed in this bond. It will remove the trailers from the campus of Watson Elementary School and add a 3-classroom addition. The other project proposed is to take on the true testament of anybody that knows Marion County is East-West Stadium. It's a legacy there, and it is much needed. It is. Thank you for the applause, absolutely. It is a legacy in Marion County. And so East-West Stadium does need repairs to the concrete, the bleachers, ADA accessibility, and those are things that our local board has committed to and made improvements in just this last year, but more needs to be done. So those 2 projects address the west side, the Fairmont Senior Feeder area. In the North Marion area, what we propose to do, and again, these are just the first bite out of addressing facilities in Marion County. In the North Marion feeder area, what we propose to do is to add a gymnasium, 7,000 square feet, onto Burdick Elementary School, middle school. And it will also add 2 classrooms to that facility. The students at Burdickville, the middle school students, play their events at North Marion High School. And I don't know if you've ever visited the gym at Burdickville Middle School, elementary school, but it is a hindrance, and it is something that desperately needs supported for those students. It will allow them to play in their facility, not just basketball games, not just tournaments and cheerleading practice, but it also will serve as a classroom itself, which we know. So that is the first commitment in the equal distribution of funds in the North Marion area. The other thing that this board proposes to do is to add a 2-lane access road out to the stadium. Another legendary facility in Marion County, built by the hands of North Marion. As we know, it needs repairs. And I was blessed to have heard the story straight from the late Coach Roy Michael's mouth when he talked about building that facility and all that was invested in it by their hands. For him and for that community, let's add the much needed repairs to that facility. Let's replace the bleachers that need replaced. Let's put new turf on it. And let's add that security access road, 2-lane. And if you visited that campus, that is something that absolutely needs done out to that field. So those are the 2 projects in the North Marion area. Again, not addressing everything that needs addressed in the county, but it is a bite. And in the East Fairmont attendance area, what we propose to do is to start something, to lay a foundation, take a first bite out of the commitment to giving East Fairmont High School, East Fairmont Middle School, the communities of East Fairmont that will utilize that field, much like East-West Stadium's used, much like North Marion Stadium's used. And so when you're looking at that, that will lay a base track and a field, a turf field at East Fairmont High School. It is not the entire project, but it is something that has been requested, asked for, begged for years out of the East Fairmont feeder area. Let's start it. Let's break ground. And then they can raise more. They can secure those commitments, very similar to how things have been done in Marion County. Let's start that first commitment. The other project, the final one that we propose to do in the East Fairmont area, again an elementary project, is to give the students of Pleasant Valley, one of the highest performing elementary schools in the state, number 4 ranked this year, put in an application as a blue ribbon school that JN, by the way, achieved nationally this year. Pleasant Valley students and East Park students deserve a better learning environment. One that is handicap accessible, one that has parking, one that has those learning environments enhancements that they need. You know, Marion County has made a commitment to our students. We've thrived. After the pandemic, we were one of 8 counties in the entire state that academically grew. We performed academically. And so when anybody tells you that other counties, or that we're last, or that we're ailing, don't buy that, because we have the data. We've been recognized by the State Department for achieving, coming off of the pandemic, and continuing to achieve in student achievement. Our athletic accomplishments are known throughout the state, not just in basketball, wrestling, football, but in fine arts, theater, band. These are the things that will be utilizing our facilities for years to come, and we need to continue that commitment to them. Also, we certainly recognize, again, it is just a start. It doesn't address everything that needs to be addressed, but it is a 19.9 5-year commitment that we are asking out of our voters. And everything that is listed in this bond, we are legally bound to complete. So when you see a base track at East Fairmont High School, that base track commitment has to be completed in that 5-year by this bond, if our voters pass it. We've also taken the opportunity to marry funds, which every county does, save one in the state of West Virginia. We've chosen to marry funds with the School Building Authority. And what we mean by that is we are asking, with the commitment of the elementary school in the East Fairmont feeder, we are putting down a little over $3 million out of our local bond. That's what our taxpayers would pay in that project. But we are going to the School Building Authority of West Virginia and asking for $20 million to build a facility on the east side of Marion County, which is growing. And I don't know about you, but anyone who is in business, who is a family, who is a community supporter, supports the growth of the pillars of our communities, which is our schools. And so these are good, thoughtful proposals that our Board of Education has put before the voters of Marion County. And I certainly laid things back on the table. I'm hopeful the candidates will discuss this as well, but these are certainly desperate needed improvements in Marion County. Our last bond in Marion County expired before I started as superintendent. That was 3 years ago. The commitment of that bond was fulfilled with East Fairmont Middle School, and it is time that we make a further commitment and improve our facilities with an equal distribution, a little over $3 million at every one of these projects, equally distributed throughout the county. I hope I didn't take too much time.
Thank you. As promised, I will introduce our candidates, starting down at the end. Kevin Rogers, Palatine District. James Saunders, Middletown. Bill Burdick, Middletown. Kim Middlemas, Palatine. And Lloyd White, West Augusta. At this time, I will introduce you to our moderator, Christy Miller. Christy has served in multiple leadership roles in Marion County and across West Virginia. She currently serves as the state-appointed takeover superintendent in Upshur County. Other roles she has held included Dean of Students, Assistant Principal, Executive Director of the Office of Student and School Support and Leadership with the WVDE, President of Tigard Valley United Way, Taylor County Superintendent from 2018 to 2023, and various nonprofit boards. Christy is a lifelong learner that understands the importance of serving others and putting students first. She learned this from her parents, also lifelong educators and community leaders, Bill and Rosemary Phillips. Christy has been married to Chip for 27 years, and they share 5 grown children, 6 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, Christy Miller.
We're going to try this. Can you hear me okay if I do not use the microphone? Okay.
What'd you say?
I knew you'd do that to me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this here on the end, so if you feel like your voice is not going to be heard, you'll have the microphone that you could pass down. You might want to go behind, because this is where the cord is, just so you know. Okay? So good evening, everyone, and welcome. It is a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Serving in the role that I serve in, oftentimes I don't get to be in friendly places. Although I have to say, yesterday I found out that I'm in Upshur County. One of the gentlemen who has just been fabulous since I arrived came to me at the corridor meeting yesterday, and he said, "Christy, come here for a second." So I went over and I said, "Yes." He said, "You know how to work a room." I said, "Yes, sir, I do. I learned at an early age how to do that." And he said, "Well, here's what I've noticed." He said, "When you first got to Upshur County, people snarled at you because you were that woman from the state." He said, "Today, the men were hugging you, the women were smiling at you, people you didn't even know were saying, 'Hey, thank you for coming here.'" I said, "Well, thank you." He goes, "No." He goes, "You're in." I said, "All right," because I'm trying to pass an excess levy. And when you take over a school system that nobody trusts because they misspent and misappropriated money, that's a little bit of a large mountain to have to climb. But that's okay, because I can take on anything. So this evening, what we're going to do is, first we're going to allow our candidates 2 to 3 minutes to just kind of introduce themselves, because some of you in the room may not know them. So we wanted for them to give their elevator speech first, and then I will ask questions. To be fair to each candidate this evening, each of them will be given the opportunity to answer a question first, so that they will be able to share their thoughts. If others want to piggyback off on them, that's fine. If they have their own thoughts, that's fine as well. But I find that when you moderate events like this for candidates, everyone should have an opportunity to go first. So we will do that this evening. I'm going to have to count on Pat to kind of be my timekeeper so that we can keep this moving, because once I ask a question and we ask them to start, we'll give them about 2 minutes to answer each question. I don't think they're that hard, but my husband says, "Boy, I'm glad I'm not going with you tonight." For transparency, I made the questions up, and yes, I made them from the perspective of a superintendent, so just bear with me this evening. So I would like to start on the end first with Kevin and allow him to give his best elevator speech, and then when he's finished, we'll just continue on down the line.
Okay. Hello, my name is Kevin Rogers. I'm born and raised in Fairmont. I lived here all my life except for 5 years I lived in Bagley. I'm an East Fairmont graduate. I'm also, I went to VOTEC at 2 years in high school when I graduated from adult VOTEC, Mark McCall's class in '79, and that's what started me as an electrician. I'm an electrician for 45 years. I've had my own company, or companies, since 1995, so that's 29 years. Retired January 1st, and that's why I thought I'd give it a try for Board of Education. I felt like I had the time, and I wanted something to do, so that's why I'm trying. But anyhow, I have a wife, Tina, 2 kids, Heather and Jared, and 4 grandchildren, and 2 go to public school here in Marion County. Let's see. I'm sorry. I guess that's probably it. I don't think really anything else, but I'm just interested in running for the board. It's the only thing I've ever tried. I tried it once in the '90s. I ran against my old principal, Keith Holt, didn't do too well. So I thought I'd give it one more try, but it's the only thing I've ever been interested in. I've never been interested in any other office ever. So I really, my wife and I spend a lot of time helping schools or the University of Fairmont City University. So we spend a lot of time. So that's where my interests are.
Thank you. Reverend Saunders.
My name is Reverend James Saunders. I want to first of all wish best of luck to all these candidates. If you look around, good candidates here, 5 good candidates. This is kind of wrong. It says Middletown District. although as a board member, I represent the whole county, so I want to work for the whole county and everything. But I love being on the board. I'm going on my 37th year of being a board member. I've worked with some great board members. Dixie Ann, I believe, is the best board member I ever worked with. I said that for years. She was a tremendous board member, and I always enjoyed working with her. But I want to continue on the board. I'm not a yes person by any means. I ask questions, I give answers. We have a great superintendent. Any of you just heard her speak, she's tremendous. But she's the second best superintendent I've ever worked for. I've told her that many times. John Myers, in my opinion, but she's catching up with John, you know, and I believe someday she'll be there. I believe I've gone the whole spectrum as a Marion County citizen and as a board member. I started out in the Marion County schools. I was a good student, then I was a bad student. I was a good athlete. I did a lot of things. Matter of fact, I made a 31 on the ACT. I don't know if I caught the person beside me or not, but I made a 31. But I always like to say this, and I love talking about this. The grace of God in my life goes around full circle. In 1966, my mother received a letter, and it said, "Dear Mrs. Saunders, your son, James Rat Saunders, is expelled from Fairmont Senior High School and must find another high school to attend. Signed, E.W. Malcolm, Principal of Fairmont Senior High School." The second letter was 1966, "Dear Mrs. Saunders, your son, James Rat Saunders, is expelled from Marion County Schools and must find another county to attend." Signed, J.J. Strait, Superintendent of Schools. Then I turned the page over for the third letter, and it was 1984, "Dear Reverend Saunders, congratulations on being elected to the school board. We look forward to many years working with you." Signed, John D. Myers, Superintendent of Schools. But here's the grace of God. The fourth letter said this: "Dear Reverend Saunders, we'd like you to be the guest speaker of the retirement dinner of E.W. Malcolm, Principal of Fairmont Senior High School." And that's just how it turned around. So I believe in every kid. I love the opportunities to be a school board member where we can make an impact on the kid, because the greatest resource we have in the state of West Virginia is very young people. Thank you.
Next, Donna?
Hi, my name is Bill Burdick. My family moved back to Fairmont about 30 years ago or so. My children all went through Marion County schools all the way through. Very successful children. One's an attorney, one's a CPA. So the foundation of the school was presented by Marion County. Did well for my kids. As far as myself, I just retired, working part-time right now at the Marion County Senior Center. As far as background, I was on city council. I represented the Bellevue district. I was also deputy mayor, and then I was also mayor for 2 years. So as far as experience with all gamuts of government, I should have some experience in helping forward. I told somebody else earlier tonight, just like in city council, I want to leave, just like when you go camping, you want to leave the camp better than what it was when you got there. And I think I did that when I was on city council. So just a couple of things, like you have a good superintendent, like Rat said. During my term on city council, I think we went through 4 city managers. And it's tough to get stability and a plan forward. You have these plans, long-range plans, but if you keep on hiring and having to rehire, you lose a little bit of direction. At least with Ms. Heston, you have the direction you need to be going on. And just a few items I look at on my point of view of what I'm looking at. What are we going to do with truancy? The financials, because we were having to cut jobs. Still want to be concerned about safety within the schools, and also present a parent's point of view instead of administrators. But sometimes we have too many, a little heavy load on that. But let the parents be able to give input to their schools and see what's going on. But other than that, appreciate it. Have a good night. Don't get wet.
All right, I am Kim Middlemas, and first of all, thank all of you for coming. My husband said if 20 people showed, that was a good show. So there's 40 of you, in case you don't know, because I can't. Okay, I have 4 children that they all graduated from Fairmont Senior High School. They also graduated from WVU. And I can't talk about them because I won't quit talking about them. They're all very successful and the love of my life. I officially have 7 grandchildren because I just got a baby boy last week. 1 of our grandsons attend Marion County schools. 4 do not because they either don't live in West Virginia or do not live in Marion County. And 2 are not old enough to attend school. Okay, so that's a background about my family. Now about me. I went back to school as a non-traditional student when Hope, my baby girl, was 4 years old. I graduated from Fairmont State University December 1996. It took me 4.5 years. Yes, it did, raising 4 children. I was very fortunate in '97 to start working. And if you know then how large the sublist was, it was a miracle. I got a job at Eastdale teaching kindergarten. It was a sub for the entire year. The following year, I received a 1-year contract, also at Eastdale, teaching 4th grade. After that, I went to Reesville for 1.5 years, teaching 3rd and 4th grade. And then I went back to Eastdale where I taught 3rd grade. So most of my career is teaching 3rd grade students, which by the way happens to be my love. I love 3rd grade. During that time, I was studying to get my administrative papers. I graduated from Salem University, and as soon as I passed my praxis, I was so blessed. Dr. Ferris had started our dean program. And I was hired. And I was hired to work with none other than Steve Higgins. And if anyone knows Steve Higgins from Miller Junior High, you know he's cream of the crop. And I learned so much from that man that I used it until last year. Everything he taught me. Everything he taught me. So Sabina students there and Dunbar. The following year, I spent a year being the interim principal at Dunbar while we were building the new West Middle. I went to West Middle and opened up West Middle with Rocky. I was his assistant principal. And shortly after that, that summer, I got the job at Blackshear Elementary. So that's my first official principal's job, was at Blackshear Elementary. I loved Blackshear. I enjoyed my 2 years there, but honestly, I wanted to be closer to home, and that's the bottom line. So when Pleasant Valley opened, I went to Pleasant Valley, where I have spent 14 years of my career building a fantastic school that I could not be prouder of, and I will not be ashamed of it. And I am so proud of that school, what they became and what they are. I retired officially July 1st, but anyone who knows me knows I was planning on running for board my last school year. I told everyone that wanted to hear me, and I'm going to retire, but I'm going to run for board. So here I am, and thank you very much for your time. Lloyd?
First of all, thank you for sponsoring the forum. Thank all of you for being here. Thank the candidates. Appreciate you. I'm going to do a little bit different take. I think we're asking you to hire us, so I'm going to go like a little bit of a resume type thing and tell you some about my activities. I've been married to my lovely wife, Kate, who's in the audience, for nearly 50 years, and my youngest daughter is here tonight to support us. We've had three children, all raised in Marion County schools, and all very successful in their own right. I just retired at the end of June as administrator of Marion County Health Department with 32 plus years of service. I also have a teaching degree, teaching certification from Vermont State, K-12, Master's in Public Health, plus 15. My wife and I attend Jewel City Church, of which I'm an usher there. So some of my professional fields, I've served as Marion County's Chief Medical Examiner for 16 years. I also served and was chairman of the Local Emergency Planning Committee for a number of years, currently vice chair of that committee. I'm also the vice chair of the West Virginia Board of Registration for Sanitarians. I was fortunate enough to be appointed to that position for the last 3 governors and served the longest tenure of any chairman of history of that board, so very proud of that. I'm a nationally registered emergency medical technician. I'm a volunteer fireman of the Worthington Volunteer Fire Department and currently serve as chairman of the board. Also a board member of the West Virginia National Guard Army. I'm a board member of the Emergency 911 Board. And just recently I was appointed to the West Virginia First Responder Board. That is a board that honors first responders who maybe go above and beyond the call of duty. Some have lost their lives, and so there's that one. Recently, I was asked to represent Marion County Commission at the Regional Opioid Settlement Funds Board, to which I did that. Some of the awards that I've been fortunate to receive, and I also served for 12 years as chief of Marion County Rescue Squad. Some of you know the history of that organization. Joe Manchin kind of booked me into that deal. We're on the verge of bankruptcy, so I was going to do it only for a little while, but I ended up doing it for 12 years. So in 2006, I was named West Virginia State EMS Administrator of the Year. In 2009, we were West Virginia Agency of the Year. To my knowledge, that had never been done prior to and hasn't been done since. I have received the two highest awards bestowed on anybody in public health. I received the Steve Bear Award for Excellence in Environmental Health, and just in this past September, I received I was inducted into West Virginia Public Health Hall of Fame. No, Christine, I'm not going to say about the bubble. So, that's basically who I am. But I got to tell you, I'm an absolute blessed man. Whatever I've achieved in my career, and I've had an outstanding career, it's because of support with my wife and family. Just allowed me to do the things that I do. I'm absolutely about public service. That's what I've dedicated my career to. And I still think I have a lot left to offer. I, like some of the other candidates have said, when Donna came to the county, I reached out to her. We were right in the mix of COVID. So we've worked extremely well together. And I want to use my experience to make sure that we do the best for our students and for our educational system in our county. I think it's good. Can we do better? That's what I want to work on. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. We can applaud. Okay, so now I'm going to start with questions. I will ask that you not applaud or say anything while they're speaking. I'm sure some of you have your favorites out there, but we do want to be respectful of the candidates and allow them to keep their thoughts together and continue to share what they would like. It's okay, I'm used to that. So the first question, and Kevin, we're going to begin with you. The first question is, what do you see as the current challenges facing public education in Marion County?
Well, probably enrollment of kids, being able to get kids, which gives us the financial support we need. We have a public school, and then we have private schools, and then we have homeschooling. So I think that's just something we have to work around and work with. And I know it's the parent's choice, so I agree with that. I have no problem with that, but we just need to do something to try to entice and get students in our school. And I really think we need that. And so that's probably my priority.
Okay, thank you. Reverend Saunders, what do you feel is?
Same question.
Yes.
I agree with Kevin there. I mean, we do need to educate parents that have sent their kids either to homeschool or to charter school or whatever. We need to let them know. I love what the superintendent said one time to the legislators, that the best education that a student can get is the public high school, the public school. Yes. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, but we need to educate parents, let them know their kids will be safe going to school and their kids will get the best education. And the second thing will be, we need to do something with our facilities. We have some of the oldest facilities in the state of West Virginia. We must do something to improve that.
Thank you. Mr. Burdick, what do you see as the current challenges facing public education in
I
Marion?
think both of them have spoke on making the schools more attractive to students, making them want them to come to school. I think also that maybe we can work with the legislature. As far as funding, we have a lot of students that are eligible for post extracurriculum activities, but if they're not in school, I don't think we're getting money for that. Seems like they should be considered like a half student if they're involved in using our facilities, using our coaches we're paying. We should get compensated half a student rate for being in the extracurricular activities to try to make up for a little bit of the financial shortfall.
Thank you. Mrs. Middlemas.
I believe we need community growth. I think we need not only new schools, because I will tell you right now, that's the first thing people look at when they come and consider moving to Marion County. The very first thing they look at are our schools. They don't see what's going on inside, because then they'd be thrilled. They look at that outside building. So we definitely need to improve our schools, we need Oklahoma Pass. We need people to come to live in Marion County. We need people to want to live in Marion County again. And have jobs provided for them.
There's people with things, go ahead. Okay, thank you. Mr. White?
Well, it sounds like a broken record, but I agree with everyone. In the last 2 years, we've lost about 495 students. It cost us $3.2 million. Where do those funds, we have to make those funds up in some manner, some capacity. All of us know we have households that we operate. It takes funds to operate those. So in light of decreasing enrollment for whatever reason, there comes some funding losses. And so how do we make that funding loss up? It takes money. So I think that is all of my primary concern is decreasing in enrollment. I agree, I mean, the laws are what they are, and we support the laws, that's just what we do. Yet it does present a burden on the local public school system when you have a decrease of funding. So I think that's the one challenge that faces us. Then two, if you guys have PEIA, you know it's going to go up. Ours went up 14% over the last, 16% last year, 14% this year. So when you have increasing personnel costs, obviously that's another drain on the budget. So we're going to be looking at some budgetary things that has to be addressed in some manner. So I think when we address the one, hopefully that'll help address the other. Then I would say probably school safety is another really big thing that I would put right up above there. If our kids and our faculty and our support personnel aren't safe, then nothing else matters beyond that, because we have to create an educational system that's conducive to learning, paramount to the safety of our students and staff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Reverend Saunders, we'll start with you on this question. What do you believe are the most important characteristics of an effective school board? And what do you believe are the most important characteristics of an effective school board member?
Well, I believe one most best characteristics would be a board that works together, a board that's in unison, a board that not always 5-0 vote, but be able to talk about things in a professional way when they come out and make decisions. I honestly believe every board member should vote their own conviction on every item that comes up before them and not be persuaded or swayed by any interest groups or whatever. And then the second part of that question, effective for a school board member, is listen. Somebody that listens and has the ear of the public. Most public people don't like calling central office or even calling board member unless it's somebody they feel they can trust. And I honestly believe that the one thing I've returned every email, I've returned every phone call, I've returned every letter that's ever been sent to me, whether it was a good one or a bad one, because I believe people deserve that when they want to talk to a board member. So those are things I think are very important.
I think as a group, I would say, maybe start out with like a weekend retreat with all the members, so everybody gets to know who they are and all about them, and maybe some team building skills and stuff, things like that. Just to work as a group, and that way you can move forward as a group. But, like I said, if you firmly believe something's not right, definitely vote against it. As far as accessibility to the board members, my thoughts would be like specifying a time I'm available and make it well known that use one of the extra offices in the board office to be able to, for parents or teachers or whoever needs to communicate with me, to communicate in person instead of playing phone tag. So you just lose a little bit of that personal touch by playing phone tag. If somebody can see you personally, you can build a relationship.
Thank you. Mrs. Middlemas?
I'm going to ask you to repeat, please.
Sure thing. What do you believe are the most important characteristics of an effective school board? What do you believe are the most important characteristics of an effective school board member?
As a school board, I think we have to be open. I think we have to be honest with one another. I think we need to be willing to listen to everyone's opinion, but then come together and make a good decision, make a good solid decision. We need to be trustworthy. Most important, we need to practice confidentiality. when we're at a meeting, that is that you have to practice confidentiality. You can't discuss what's happening outside of the board with someone else. To me, that's very important. Sorry. You need to build a culture. I've even thought about this because I don't know. I have to be honest. I don't know. Do we have a mission statement? I would love to know. We need to work on that together, and that would be something a board could build together if we don't, or to look at it and rewrite a mission statement and our core beliefs, what we think as a board.
Mr. White?
So I think on the Board of Education, it is a massive responsibility, a large undertaking. I think we need board members that, and this probably goes along the second part of that, is willing to listen. The absolute most important thing is to be able to listen. A lot of times folks don't necessarily want you to agree with them, and maybe the fact when they're talking to you, they may know they're wrong, but just to be able to listen, and they all have concerns. Our job is to listen. Quite frankly, we can learn from a lot of people just by listening. I think the Board of Education members also have to be accessible, transparent. We've got to be fair, we've got to be objective, and we've got to make tough decisions. I'm telling you, making tough decisions, that's something I've done all my life. And I still do it the old-fashioned way, make a list. What's the cost? What's the benefit? What's the advantages? What's the disadvantages? Those things. Be willing to make tough decisions, but at the heart of all of our decisions has to come back to the students. Are they achieving? Are they getting the quality education? What are our taxpayers getting for their dollar? And that we all want quality education. Everyone wants their students to do the best, to be the best. And we got to make sure that we just at least give them the opportunity. I think the one thing that I want to do is maybe look at all of our policies and see where we are with that. And just a question, I was talking to a teacher the other day. Some of our policies probably need review. I'm a firm believer. So many people in this room are successful because somebody gave them a second opportunity, a second chance. So do we have people that's just making a simple mistake, making a stupid comment just because it's the end thing to do? Or do we have somebody that's making a really legitimate threat? So we got to look at all of those things. At the end of the day, are we doing the best we can do for our students? And I think that comes back on the board.
Thank you. Thank you. And then I'll start with you, Mr. Burdick.
Kevin didn't need.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. That's me.
Almost done.
Thank you.
As everyone's already said, I think that the board, behind closed doors or in open session, we need to work together, figure it out. And if there's any disagreements, you do it behind closed doors, and you just figure it out, and you come out and you work together. If anything is taught you that, one individual, many more, but Dixie Ann, Board of Governors, you have to do that every day. You have to work with people, you have to work with a larger board, and I think it's very important that we all work together and come out together. And even if we disagree, but it's still important to me. And then, as an individual, I just think integrity, vote the way you feel, even if it's 1 to 4. And, you know, I think that as a member, I would love to go with Dr. Heston and a few board members to the schools and just visit every one of them, all 19 schools, and just visit every one of them, see what the needs are, and try to do a good job.
Thank you. All right, Mr. White, I'm going to start with you. So a lot of people don't know this as they enter the realm of becoming a board member. But an individual school board member has no authority. Only the board can make decisions for the county, many times based on recommendations from the superintendent. What skills or traits do you contribute to that type of an environment where you don't have authority, but yet you're charged with making decisions?
Well, I think it would be my background in city council as far as the recommendations from the city manager, which is equal to what the superintendent is, as far as their recommendations to what the city needs to do, and it would be up to like on city council, at least the nine council members, deciding that they want to do that program or not do that program, and not be afraid of saying, no, we don't want to go that way. And And there has been times, discussion, I think the biggest one, it's small to, it's big or small. There was a recommendation to let the state employees park in the parking garage, but raise the rates on the small businesses that wanted to park in the garage. And for me, that was a no-brainer to shut that down because we want development and we want the small businesses downtown. But, yeah, it's similar parallels. The recommendations are presented to the board. The board can act at the meeting or suspend it and take it back into executive session where we can all discuss openly and freely what we want to do. But like Kim said here, you know, you can't be doing with the board, you only get too many people, and you're actually violating Robert's Rules of Orders as far as conducting a meeting. So I think a lot is similar to that as far as taking the recommendations and seeing what the flow is with the group.
Thank you, Mrs. Middlemas.
Well, first of all, I feel like I said, confidentiality is the name of the game. I'm sorry. So, I'm not sorry. 5 people on a board, if you need to go behind closed doors and have a discussion, you need to go behind closed doors and have a discussion. Do I think personally, as a member, that I could talk to Dr. Heston openly and honestly and give her my feelings? That would also be done privately, and that's not me saying we're going to do it. It's me being honest and me being trustworthy, letting her understand what I feel or how I'm feeling. And I would hope that I would have that same, conversation with her, and she could let me know, and we'd have a great conversation between us, and then bring it back to the board members and make a decision on where we should go, depending on what the topic is that we're discussing at the time. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Wright?
Well, could you repeat the question?
I certainly can. So an individual school board member has no authority, okay? Because only the board itself can make decisions for the county, brought by recommendations oftentimes from the superintendent. So how do you see yourself contributing to that operative piece of a board?
Well, first of all, let me say I'm a fan of our superintendent. She's doing a great job. So I have all the faith, confidence, trust in her to make the right decisions, and I know she will. Secondly, the superintendent is basically the CEO of the board. I've spent a career in management, both in the private sector and public sector, so all of those things that we typically have to do, transparency, confidentiality, all of those, my experience with personnel transactions and all of those, I understand it's teamwork, it's not an individual. I think if somebody has an overinflated ego, it's probably not the place for them to be. It takes teamwork. We can't all be wrong, we can't all be right, but surely to goodness we can work together. That's not the point, it's just being able to work together. Again, how do we make our decisions? Just use common sense. I don't have an axe to grind, I don't have an agenda, but my agenda is, let's do the best we can for our students and staff of our school.
I think Dr. Heston's doing a great job, and I think that when she brings stuff to the table for the board to review, I would think, and unless it's not in favor of the board, in the direction that the board would want her to go, or that person to go, then I think that would be the only time that you'd have to step up and say something. But as far as I know, the board can only instruct the superintendent, correct? So that would be, I think, we would be on common ground. I think it'd be fine. But I think the board has to communicate, and the board has to communicate their vision to Dr. Heston.
Saunders.
I like the first part of that question because a lot of people in the public think that the Board of Education does all the hiring. They call you and say, hey, can you get this person a job? We have one employee, that's it, and that's the superintendent. It's the only person. We don't, like, I'd go to Kim's school, talk, and she may joke and say, this is my boss, but it's only a joke. I'm no one's boss. I am the superintendent's boss. She's doing a horrible job too, is what you guys know that. But it's right. I tell you, there's been times there's been items on the agenda that I've gone in the superintendent's office and talked with her, and she always has an open door policy for the board members, really for the public, but I've gone in, and she's been able to convince me or talk to me about items, and I may change my mind. Not always. There's been times I've not supported her in things that I thought was the best interest, and whether right or wrong, I voted my conviction and felt that's the right thing. But as a board member, as I said, we come together, we talk about things, whether you go to executive session, we talk. And I learned something a long time ago, whatever goes on in executive session is not really private, because if you have to go to court, the judge will tell you, nope, whatever happened, you have to discuss it. I learned that in the case one time. But it's the fact of being, as we said already, transparent and being able to work together. We have one employee, that's it, that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Middlemas, we'll start with you now. Communication is very important. It's very important among board members, and it's also very important with the superintendent. How do you plan on communicating, not only with the superintendent, but fellow board members?
Well, I just think, first of all, I like the idea that you said a retreat, and I think they actually do that. And I think first off, that would be a great thing, because first thing you need to do is get to know one another. I mean, granted, I can say I know Reverend Saunders because he's been in my school a million times. And I've met the other gentleman tonight and have probably known them in the past. But I think as a board member, we all need to get together to become a family. I'm sorry, I'm gonna use that word. We need to be a family. We need to be on one page. We need to understand that we all want what's best for Marion County, and we all want what's best for our students in Marion County. As far as my communication with Dr. Heston, I've already had so much communication with Dr. Heston, some things I'm pretty sure will never change. I've always felt comfortable going to her and speaking with her. So, if you will repeat that question, let me see if I left anything out.
So it's about communication and the importance of communication. How would you see communication with the superintendent and then with other board members?
And I think I pretty much covered it all, and so I won't go on to, well, I'll ask this, okay? I would also be very involved in the schools, because I think if you're out in the schools listening to teachers, listening to principals, that is also something that is very important, that you have that communication, that you can be sure that you know how everybody feels and everyone's vision for what they would like from Marion County schools.
Mr. Hagan.
Well, if you don't have communications, you have absolutely nothing. Nothing can get done, nothing can be accomplished without effective communications. Talk about them. We're not always going to agree, we're not always going to disagree, but at the end of the day, maybe I'll change my mind, someone else will. Let's share different points of view. At the end of the day, for us to move our education system forward, it has to be a shared vision, and it has to start with effective communication.
Thank you. Mr. Rogers.
I don't think there'd be a problem communicating with Dr. Heston. We already do that. I've talked to her many times, and I've had the privilege to go to many schools. The STEAM project, which is phenomenal. If anybody hasn't been there, they need to go there. It's phenomenal. And that was all built in-house, correct? Yeah, so I wouldn't have anything time discussing anything with Dr. Heston. And the board, I think, I'm sorry, the second part of the question was?
Communication among board members.
I'm on quite a few boards, and I've never had a problem communicating with other board members, and I just don't see that, especially with this, it's a small amount, 5. I would think it would easily for all of us to communicate and be able to get a common vision, so I don't think that would be a problem at all.
Communication's already been said, it's so important. It's important with board members, it's important with the superintendent. As I said earlier, there's an open door policy where any board member can go in and talk to the superintendent about concerns, etc. As far as board members, you have to be careful, because the law prohibits me to call Tom Dragonship and discuss an item that's going to be voted on at a later date. We have to watch that, because you can get in trouble. And if 3 of us, Dr. Morals, Tom and I, we get together to talk about an item that's going to vote on, that's definitely people who can get in trouble. So communication is so important when you're talking, basically at a board meeting. The only power the Board of Education has is at a meeting. Is when you're at a meeting and it's been opened up as a meeting and you're sitting there discussing policy.
Thank you.
I think a lot's been covered, as far as the communications. It sounds like it's a good flow back and forth. I would almost encourage, trying to schedule a weekly meeting at their convenience on it. And like Reverend Saunders said, you get three together, you actually constituted a legal meeting, and you could be put in front of the Ethics Commission. So there's a lot of things you gotta be careful with a small group of five as far as that. But as far as the communication, visiting the schools, sounds like the best course to go for.
Very good. And here comes the toughest question I'm probably gonna ask in the evening. It'll make a lot of sense to those of you out there that know what I got myself into in Upshur County, but it is very important for board members. Can you explain where the funding comes from to support our county schools and the responsibilities a board member has to ensure funds are appropriated as directed by code and policy? That's the right word, but anyway, you.
You asked me the tough questions, I gotta go first, so they'll copy off of it. Maybe I don't even. Well, you know, this thing, believe me, I don't pretend to understand, but the school aid funding formula is very complex. Much like public health funds come from the state, the formula they use to distribute those funds is very complex. They do, however, come with stipulations. You can only use certain funds for doing certain things with, and those have to be accounted for via the audit and those things. I think about 80% of our budget comes from tax dollars. We have about 20% of our budget comes from the levy, which I agree with Superintendent. We need to renew our levies. We need to pass a bond that generates revenue for us. And it takes all of those things to make sure we have the budget in place, the finances in place to do what we need to do. Probably in high school and in college, Christy, don't tell, I don't, Dr. Phillips, but I avoided math like a plague. I hated it. I was terrible. But as I go through my career, it ended up being financial analysis has been my strong point. Looking at the budgets, are we spending more in one area than we should? Are we not spending enough in another area than we should? How are we spending taxpayers' dollars? At the end of the day, we got to be responsible to taxpayers because we're asking them to fund us. We want to make sure that they're getting a good value for their tax dollars. So those are some things that I think is critically important on how we account for those dollars. But all of those dollars come with stipulations that you can only use X number of dollars for certain things. But we do have a general revenue budget that does give us a little bit of flexibility. We would call those unencumbered funds. It gives us some flexibility on how we use those funds. But we just got to be accountable. We got to be transparent. And I don't know that we do this, but I think we have to make our budgets available to the public. How we spend their dollars, we got to be accountable to them. We got to be transparent. If we give them a good value for their dollar, they'll continue to support us. If we don't, then maybe they won't.
Thank you. Rogers.
I think what is it, roughly 20% or 70% of the tax that comes in to the county is used roughly for school funding. So I know where it comes from, plus the levy works with the maintenance and salary, certain percentage of salary for our teachers and staff. I just think we have the responsibility, like you would at any company or any board, to watch the money, make sure it's being spent right, make sure it's being spent in the direction that, again, the board wanted it to, and then to direct Dr. Heston in that manner. And it's just our responsibility to watch the money. It's so simple. I know it sounds good. You just have to watch it. And
People sitting in here are lucky that question wasn't asked of Tom Dragish. I can promise you that, because Tom's always on that thing. And Lloyd, you hit the nail on the head. The steps, the state, with the state aid formula, it's so old, it's the same as it's always been. Every time we've met with the legislators, we beg them to do something about the state aid formula. Please help us. I mean, and then the state mandates that you have to have this, you have to have that, but they don't give you the money for it. So then you have to come up with the money to be able to do it. We are blessed in Marion County. I've had the privilege to work with 3 treasurers, all 3 tremendous. Rex Jordan, Kim Wade, and now we have Scott Riley, tremendous treasurer who keeps us on our toes. I promise you. And every once in a while, Superintendent will bring him in and give us a report, and I can promise you, he knows what he's doing. It's a blessing in the county to have a treasurer that stays on top of things, but we have to be accountable. And the other thing is, nothing can be spent until it goes through an agenda item to be voted on by the school board. So the superintendent just can't go out and say, I wanna buy this, I wanna buy that, I wanna do this. It has to come before the board looks on it. So we are accountable.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we discussed where the money comes from, between state and local funds. It seems like, one aspect is, the group becomes an auditor and verifying the funds are used in the correct manner as per state guidelines, and if there's any federal funds, per their guidelines, so we're not deviating from that and not getting penalized and less money because we basically messed up. We talked about communication, as far as us being auditors, and then we go into us being, PR reps as far as promoting levies and the bond and things like that, as far as getting people involved and excited about the schools. It's just, Morgantown, we've talked about the growth. Morgantown, Clarksburg, and Harrison County is pretty much saturated. We've always said it's our turn to grow. So, but you gotta be, the big thing is, financially respectful of the rules.
So I think they really covered where the money comes from. But I will say that the money, and I'm gonna go back to Reverend Saunders, what you said, the monies in Marion County are watched very, very closely. And I also have worked with Kim Wade and our new treasurer now. Everything that is purchased through a school or for a school has to have appeal first. And especially if you're buying something with special ed money, it always has to be approved first and foremost. So we don't just spend money. They don't just give us money at a school and here's your money, Kim, go spend $10,000. Every single thing has to be approved. You have to prove how you're going to use it, what you're going to use it for. So that's one thing, because you said this is a tough question. It's the one thing I'm excited about because I can't help it, I'm a lifelong learner. And this is the one thing I'm looking forward to, if I am elected to the board, is figuring out where's that money and what exactly are we doing with it? Because I know the ins and outs of running a school, but I don't know the big picture. I'll be honest, I don't know the big picture, how we spend every dime. And I'm dying to learn to find out.
Okay. All right. I think we owe our candidates a round of applause. And that financial piece is a bear to learn, so just saying. I think I could probably be a school treasurer now of everything I've had to learn in Upshur County. It is what it is. So we've been about an hour asking questions of our candidates, and I have no more to ask, but I would like to open it up to members of the audience. If there's something that you have a burning desire to know. Yes?
I'd like to know if you're elected to the school board, what are you going to do with the help of the superintendent to help with the significant bullying issue we have in our schools, especially in our elementary schools?
Okay. Mr. Rogers, we'll go back to you. Okay, so she is superintendent working with her on the significant bullying issues that exist within the schools. Thank you.
That's a hard one. Do I believe in bullying? No, absolutely not. I think it's terrible. I don't know. I don't have an answer on how to fix it. I really don't. I'd have to work with the board and work with Dr. Heston to find out what the issues are, what we can do as a board, or what Dr. Heston can do to stop it. I mean, I have grandchildren, like I said, in Marion County schools and in Long schools, and I don't want the bullying, but I don't have an answer to fix it. I really don't. I would like to, discuss with others eventually if I'm elected on the board, but I don't have an answer. Really.
When you say significant, I will tell you, I think at one time bullying was a major problem. It still is, but I don't believe it's as much as what it was. in the past, and I think a lot has to do with the zero tolerance, with principals turning it in, the board suspending kids that are active and being bullied. We have to protect them. I said it earlier, our public needs to know that when they send their kids to school and get off the bus or drop them off the car, that student's gonna be safe and not be worried about being bullied. There has to be something we talk about, we work together.
Just, I think as a group, we need to work together. We need to address it with principals and how they feel about it, and just, you know, if it in the bud, something happens, boot them out. And maybe the parents will wise up to what's going on, even if parents even care about their child that way or not, which could be questionable, but, yeah, it's not a good situation for any kid to be, because all it's gonna do is put their self-confidence in doubt, affect their grades, and hurt their future, I guess.
Training. We need more training. We need training for our teachers, for our aides, for our principals. We are so blessed that we now have counselors in every school, so I think that has really, really helped, because the counselors have brought a lot of help to the table with the bullying. But do we still need training? Yes, ma'am, most certainly.
Well, I think it's a broad problem. Certainly in our society, there's no place for bullying. Bullying is probably one of the best ways to not only ruin that child's education, but to ruin their life. How many times have people taken their lives because they were bullied in school? So I think we need to analyze the problem. Sure, we look at bullying as the word bullying, but what is that student's home life like? Are they being raised by their grandparents? Are they drug addiction in the home? What's causing that child to act out or maybe try to bully other students? So I think it's a very broad problem, and it's going to take a systematic approach to solving it. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yes, Brenda?
I'm a retired teacher, and I know that safety is always a concern when you're in the schools with students, keeping them safe, and also in the environment we live in now, keeping everybody safe. And I know that some of our legislators in their infinite wisdom, and I'm not going to politicize, but are talking about arming teachers in schools. I just want to know what your position is on that, whether teachers, there should be guns in the schools or whatever, you know, for safety or not. So, and if you have another option, that'd be great. I know that the county's doing a great job with safety, because my husband and I attended a lifelong learning session at the Homeland Security place, and they told us all the things they were doing to number the rooms and so on. So I just wanted to know what your position is. I have my own opinion on it. You probably already know what that is, but I would like to know what yours is. It didn't pass this year, but I just wanted to know. I know you'd have to deal with it if it was passed.
That's a good question, Brenda, and I will tell you, I have mixed emotions with it. Whether or not I want to see teachers armed in the school, whether or not I don't. We always say what's happened in other schools has never happened here, but you can't say that. Anything could happen. So in a case like that, I would rather have somebody that's qualified, somebody that knows how to use a weapon, be there, you know, to be able to help in a situation if needed. Because safety of the student is the number one factor. You can never not put enough money in safety of our kids. You never do that. Whatever it takes to make sure those kids are safe when they go to school.
With the absence of the school resource officer, I would say qualified trained teachers, yes, we would go for the, just the reaction time would be so much quicker instead of waiting for the officers to come in 5 minutes or 4 minutes, 3 minutes. Just the destruction that can take place in that time.
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one, because I don't own a gun. So that would be tough for me. If someone said, as the principal, you need to have a gun on your person, I honestly don't know if I could. Now, possibly, like you said, other trained people in the building, that's just a tough question, Brenda. I can see scanners in every building, so when someone comes through, a metal detector, to see, to watch every single person. Of all the things, that's what I fear more, Brenda, is that someone walks into a building to sign a child out, and they're already there. They're there. We don't know what they have on their person. We don't know. I worry more about stop it before it even gets in the door. So that's a tough one for me, because it's a big one.
So I had the fortunate to be on the school safety task force. We visited every single school in our county. We came up with a nice long list of what we think we need to do to make our schools safe. And I think I agree with Kim. We've got to look at prevention, the risk reduction. It's been a career risk reduction. So we just need to reduce the risk by make sure our schools are safe. Can we absolutely eliminate it? We'll never eliminate all the risk 100%. So having said that, and I agree with these gentlemen, I think it's okay to have a certain amount of guns in schools, very minimal, and we need training, and not every teacher should be able to carry a gun. In some instances it does deter, but I think we've got to work on prevention first before we ever get to that point. And I think we can do it if we do the systematic things the right thing. But it's a tough question. I'm not sold either way, but I would like to think that if we do the things on the front end, we may not have to worry too much on the backside.
So I'm a firm believer in guns. I agree there, but I don't think a teacher should have a gun, just for many reasons. I mean, there could be multiple students in the room that take over the teacher, just get the gun in somehow. Maybe, I think you should, as Kim said, there should be metal detection, there should be a buffer zone, that they can't get, the school should be locked down from outside, buffer zone, metal detection brought in, and, I don't know what the budgets would allow, but I wouldn't have a problem putting someone that has went through the training, or that can carry a gun, police officer, retired police officer, in these schools to roam the halls. I would much rather, I'd feel better about that than I would teachers. And I have nothing against it, I just would be afraid that it could be taken over, guns removed. And then somehow these security systems in each school will be able to communicate to each school in real time and come back to the board, so that we know what's going on, and all schools know what's going on. So that's my thought.
Thank you.
I have a question. So, we currently here, we're over our state aid formula, but the state has required us to have aides now in our first and currently coming up second grade. My question to you guys is, are you of the belief that adding more aides to classrooms is beneficial, or do you believe that smaller classrooms and having more teacher-centered classrooms is more of the way to go? Or do you just believe that support systems are good for education, despite being over the state aid formula?
As far as the aides, if our classroom sizes are overwhelming for the teacher, if we have to have it that way, I would say yes with the aides. But if we can get the teacher ratio down to student, then I would say probably we wouldn't have to. It's just, the more one-on-one that the teacher can provide, I think will help the student throughout their career.
It's state mandated. And so we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. What breaks my heart is we're losing aides where we need them, in the preschool and in the special ed, because they are bumping in to these jobs. So we don't have a choice. We have to leave them there. We didn't make that decision. Marion County didn't make that decision. The state made that decision. So we have to follow the law. Like I said, I do hope that we are able to hire more aides to take care of these pre-Ks, to take care of these special ed classrooms, because that's where they're weak. And that's where we need the most.
And I'm sorry, could you repeat the question again?
Yeah, I don't think I clarified my question correctly. So we are required through the state to hire more aides. which is what the state would like us to do. It's mandated. And so my question, and those are support systems for teachers, for classrooms. So my question to you is, do you believe that this is effective to hire more aides for classrooms, or do you believe that it's more effective to just have smaller classroom sizes that are more, smaller classroom sizes and a teacher? So if we had the opportunity to have a smaller classroom as opposed to having larger classrooms and hire an aide, what would you think is more effective in the education system?
So that's a good question, because as you probably know, we're gonna lose 7.8 something billion this year because of the school aid, because of the number of staffing that we have over that formula. So we have to make up, in order to keep that staff, if we would, and I know we're working on the reduction, but where does those general revenue dollars have to support that? If we spend money here, it takes it away from somebody down here. But having answered your question, I think if we looked at smaller classrooms, more individualized instruction, to me, that would, and I know we can't do it because of the law, but to me, that might be a better option than hiring aides for the classrooms. I think who better to teach our students than teachers? That's what they're qualified for, that's what they're certified for. So many times we kind of rely on other folks to quote unquote teach, and now I think we have to because of a shortage. But there's no better person to teach than actually teaching. So if we could allow our teachers to do what they do best, and that's teach, maybe on a smaller ratio if that's possible, I think that would be a better option than hiring aides.
I think to go to smaller classrooms would be, so less students in a classroom would mean, I would think we'd have to add an additional teacher somewhere to pick up the additional kids. So it's kind of a, which one do you pick? Do you pick the aide or do you pick an additional teacher? And I don't know which would be best. Again, I think teachers can do the best as far as I'm concerned, but I do think when classes get, or when there's 25 kids in the room, I think teachers need help with the aid. So I guess I would just have to understand the math and understand what the process was to do it. But, smaller classrooms are always best for the children, but I just don't know if we should do that.
I agree with Kevin there. It's the best scenario would be smaller classrooms, all around. Can Marion County Board of Education afford to make all classes smaller? I don't think so. I don't think so. But on the other side, with inclusion, we have the best special ed director in the state, who just retired last year. She'll tell you with things that go on in our classrooms and things, you have to have aides in there to help so a teacher can teach. So the aides can help out and do what they want to do. But we're losing aides too. We're lucky to get some substitute aides in there, but we're losing them. And but the best scenario would be smaller classrooms, if possible.
Okay, 1, 2.
Okay. 2024, our students need to be highly conversant in technology to succeed as adults. That same technology can be a huge detriment to their mental health and a distraction from their learning in the classroom. What are your thoughts on if it is time for a county-wide policy change, or whether that's something that should still be kind of left up to personal device usage in the classroom, teachers, or schools?
So I'm not sure that everyone in the back heard, but she was
Okay,
talking.
summarize that.
Well, I think you correct me if I'm wrong in what you just said. So as we know, students that we have in classrooms today and in our schools are very savvy when it comes to technology. So policy may have not kept up with their ability to utilize technology as it's presented in, or they bring to school with them. So she's asking, is it time to look at those policies and make a change, or what should we do moving forward with that technology that they do have and that ability to use it? Many times we don't know how.
Always in cell phones and stuff.
Okay, you're first.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I'm sorry.
You're first.
Okay. You can't be the teacher. You can't be the one-on-one instruction of a teacher. Do I think we should use technology in the classroom? Yes. I supported, and I used a lot of them. I loved reasoning minds. Of course, it's long gone. Now we use iReady in math, we use iReady in reading, both. I think every school, and I believe we do, or at least we should, follows the 45 minutes a week per math, per reading. Do I think we need to have any more technology in the classroom than that? In an elementary world? No. No, I don't. I think that teacher working with you, doing centers, being one-on-one, having that feeling that I love you, I care about you, I want you to learn is way more important than sticking a child in front of the computer to learn. And do I think we need to have a policy about that? I don't know if we could have a policy because once again, I need to learn. I need to learn what we can do. But yeah, I think there needs to be guidelines about how much is used. That could be. And even in high schools, I would say that too. Middle schools and high schools, I feel strongly. I do not think teachers should say, come in, get on your computer, see you, you're out here in 45 minutes. I don't think they're going to teach. And I think children will learn from teachers, and they love knowing that someone cares about them. And so they learn. Go ahead.
Okay, no, I agree with Kim. I think technology can be good and it can be bad. I think it absolutely needs to be limited in the classroom. One of the reasons why is because what do our students do at home every evening? We used to, as kids, we'd be out playing ball, doing things, yet they're on their computers playing games, on their iPhones doing all this stuff. So I think it absolutely needs to be minimized. If we allow technology to teach our kids, then we're not going to have the knowledge base that we need, not only to prepare them for school, but also for life. So I think technology is a good thing when used, but it should not be a substitute for quality teaching. The most important thing I think for that student's experience is one-on-one student-teacher relationship. I think all of us can go back to the schools that we were in and say, you know what, that was a great teacher because they took the time to share with me. And yes, well, probably this ain't appropriate today, but I got my britches dusted a few times with the pad. But you know, those are the kind of teachers that I think when they take an interest in their students' educational achievement, but also in their lifetime achievement. There's no better place to get that right in our educational system with quality teachers, doing what they do best, and that's teaching.
So let me, I want to clarify, are we talking about computers so similar to what, like Eastdale had a computer program for the elementary, and I think JN did as well? Are you talking about those kind of systems, or are you talking about kids with cell phones, or?
A little bit of both. It's a fine line to walk where we teach them to use the technology, but how do we keep them from being distracted and just the effects on their mental health from always being on the technology in the classroom.
Well, if I was a teacher, I would be very frustrated if I was teaching children, kids, and they were looking at their cell phone. So somehow, I don't know how it would be done through a policy or what you can do legally, because the parents obviously gave them the phone, so. But I would think that you shouldn't be able to use that during class, maybe in between class, but I would be very frustrated with the iPhone or the phone stuff. But as far as computers, my whole world, when I started in electrical, was nothing. You did everything hand paper, that's what you did. Everything we do now is computers. So I think they need to have some kind of computer. I think they need to stay up with technology, but not all day. You know, maybe a class or two a day or a class or two a week. So I guess we need to have some kind of, I think it's a future, obviously, right? Especially with AI. I think you need to have something, but you don't need it all day.
Rebecca, I really believe we have to stay up with the times, and we have to look at what's happening, and a good teacher can use technology right along with their teaching and still be one-on-one. In 1966, I had the best English teacher named Linda Morgan. She used technology, and it was called an overhead projector, but she used it constantly, put it in front of her and everything. So in essence, we do need to stay up with the times. But everybody's right. The teacher that can teach one-on-one, that's been new.
It seems like everybody's agreed that computers need to be part of the learning process, but not dominating the process. As far as the cell phones, using that in the classroom, get to the borderline where we have some students who don't have the cell phones because their parents don't have the money to provide the cell phone for the students. And you don't want to create a disadvantage for those students. Let's try to keep it equal because you want to give everyone a chance of developing. And I guess that's somebody that's going to do good in the world. Give them a chance.
Okay, Gia?
Just had a quick question. I've been lucky, and I think you all realize, Marion County Schools has some of the best employees in the whole state. And it's a great gig working for Marion County Schools, and I can tell you on a million reasons why you should work for Marion County Schools. But I realize right now we have some significant shortages in service personnel and services and shortages in professional personnel. So as board members, what do you have to say in order to highlight Marion County that someone would want to work in our school system?
First, right? You just went first. Yeah, so it's Lloyd's turn.
Well, why would we want to have folks come to our school systems and work? Well, I think
Why
it's-
would somebody want to work for our school system? I know why we want to, what's the selling point to come to work for Marion County Schools?
So I would say that it starts at the Board of Education. So we have to structure an environment to where folks want to come to us. And why do they want to come to us? Well, as y'all of you know, we can't do a whole lot with pay. We're working on it, as you know, but you know, that and the benefits, maybe the working environment. But most importantly, I think, is having them understand the support that they're gonna get from the Board of Education, from our superintendent, from the school system themselves. Just know that the support's gonna be there. It's a good place to work for a number of reasons. It's a great place to raise a family, so all of those things that factor in as to why we would want to sell as Marion County Schools. There's all kind of information on the internet. Compare our schools to other school systems, and you'll see that we're doing pretty daggone good.
It's a tough question for me. Are we talking about adding additional teachers, or as teachers retire, replacing teachers and subs?
Filling open positions.
Okay, filling open positions, okay. So I would think that the board would somehow need to partner with universities, say, Fairmont State and WVU, and try to encourage students to get into the teaching world. I have a niece that just graduated from Fairmont State, her mother's a teacher, and she doesn't want to teach. And it amazes me, because I think it's a good opportunity, especially as you said, Marion County. And I don't know why, and she's looking for a job and doesn't have a job, so I don't understand that, but I think we need to start somewhere and bring these kids up. Like, when I was in the 70s and 80s, everybody wanted to be teachers. I mean, we really did, teachers and nurses, and we kind of got away from that somehow. And I guess maybe it might be the salaries. The West Virginia pays their teachers. And maybe they just don't want to do that, because I know we get a lot of people leave the state, but, you know, I really would love to keep the locals here, and I'd really like to keep them in our school system and get them into teaching. So I think us, we have to partner, maybe the board to partner with Fairmont State especially, and try to encourage some, and maybe have some teachers there go with us to encourage and tell the students how well you like it at Marion County, and what they do.
We have to make it attractive, as has already been said. We have to do we do a couple of programs to try to get people in. I know Chad Norman drive a bus, where they came on a Saturday, and people drove buses to try to get bus drivers to do it. We sent Rocky up to Fairmont State to the job fair, trying to encourage people to go. But I think the biggest key is somebody will want to work for somebody that is a good boss, whether it's the transportation director, whether it's the maintenance director or somebody. Just like Kim, she was principal for so many years at Pleasant Valley. It wasn't a big turnover. And that's a compliment to the principal. And it's the same thing if we can get somebody in these positions that will be working for somebody that they feel good about working with, that they get positive impact. You just have to make it attractive.
Pretty much agree, it's just, you know, if they would make less here, but they feel like they're wanted, you know, it just, makes a world of difference as far as being somebody, being critical, consistently negative to the employees. It all starts with the group up here, superintendent, acting down to all the principals, as far as wanting everybody to work, coming to work and enjoying working for the town.
Okay, Gina, I just thought of this. If we could do something, I'm gonna say like leadership men, where we go to Fairmont State and we get the kids, we get those students, and we plan this day in Marion County, and let them experience the schools and what goes on in every school in Marion County, so they can see those great teachers that they'll be working with, and those great service personnel that they'll be working with, and try to get those WVU students that come and do their student teaching in our schools. If they could do it, and just, I don't know if we could even do something like that, but get them out in our schools, all of them, not just the school where they're doing their student teaching, because now they pick that school and they're there for all their hours. It's not like back in the day when we did ours, when you were in 3 or 4 schools, you're in 1. So maybe if we did something like that and let them see all the schools and all the good stuff that's going on, and talk to them about, I think we're doing great stuff after school. I think we're doing these great activities after school, teaching students, especially the special ed, how to read an IEP, how to write a good lesson plan. We're doing all this good stuff, and share all that with them, so that and sell ourselves, sell Marion County.
Okay, I think that we are probably at a very good stopping point. We want to again thank our candidates. I hope my questions weren't too tough.
You were tough.
Well, I was But, and thank you for the questions from the audience. This is an important decision. This is a very important decision. The best thing about my job right now is I don't have to answer to 5 board members. But this is important for Marion County's future. It's important for the kids of Marion County. And I think that was heard loud and clear this evening from all of our candidates, that our children are why they want to be a part of this Marion County board. So kudos to all of you, and thank you for your attendance this evening. And Pat, I'll let you wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all. And yes, thank you, Christy. Christy's doing wonderful things in Upshur County. So thank you so much for being with us this evening. We will be back here on the 23rd, same time, same place. We will have our circuit court and magistrate candidates back here, this same place, same time on the 23rd. Okay, so come on back. We'll be here.
If I may, George Boyles is here. He's a board member. I need to recognize him.
Yes,
Sir.
sir.
Board member.
Mr. Boyles?
Yeah, Mr. Dragic left.
Yes, Mr. Dragich was here as well. Thank you all. Drive home safe.